Chapter 1. Every story has a beginning. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. These words were written by King Solomon, who counts as one of the wisest men in the ancient world, almost 3,000 years ago. And while there may be differing views as to what exactly he meant by them, everyone who considers them carefully will agree that their own life is living proof of their truth. When I became aware of this aphorism, it jumped off the page and lodged deep into my soul, starting me on a mission to work out. 1. As a man, who am I actually? 2. Thinks in his heart. What does that mean? Do we not think in our brain? 3. So is he. How does that manifest into my life? I found myself well over 50 and heading for 60 years of age when I realized that I was not happy with my progress in finding the core reason for my being on planet Earth. Yes, I acknowledge that I have many blessings in my life, so I don't want to come across as ungrateful in any way. However, when I asked myself had I become all that I had the potential to be, or what I was created to be, I felt that I had not. I wanted to know why not. Furthermore, it seemed to me that many people struggle with the same question. I wanted to know where I had gotten all the beliefs I held, especially the beliefs that held me and controlled the way I lived my life. When I look around me, I see that everything has been made with a specific purpose in the mind of the maker. The chair I'm sitting on, the table I'm sitting at, the pen I'm writing with, my laptop beside me, etc., and I cannot think of any reason why we would not be the same. There are over 8 billion people in the world. They all have unique fingerprints. I asked myself, why is that? Could it be that our unique fingerprints are just an outward visible sign that we are all unique on the inside? I think so. And if we are unique, then could it mean that we are all here for a unique purpose? If so, then it must be true, or at least a reasonable supposition, that we already have within us the ability, gifts, and talents to accomplish that very purpose. We just need to locate them on the inside and bring them out. I got excited about that. Then, as I started to analyze that thought, I discovered that I wasn't actually sure who that unique me was. Could it be a different me to the one I thought I knew? Could there be two of me in the one body? I decided to establish a new principle for my life. If I want to be free, I've got to know me. So, I decided I had to find out who I am. I sat looking at my face in a mirror, close up looking right into my eyes. I asked myself these two questions. 1. Who am I looking at? 2. Who is asking the question? It's a little unnerving, to be honest. What is my opinion of the face before me? Do I know him? Do I like or even respect him? Do I trust him to deliver my wants and needs? What do others think of him? Do I look after him well? Does he deserve the best that life offers? Does he know how to get it? Where did he get all the beliefs he holds, especially the beliefs that hold him and control the way he lives his life? Am I critical of him in my quiet moments alone with him? Is he doing the best he can? Is he enough? How can he get better, to deliver more for me and my family? Where do his opinions come from? Where does his knowledge come from? Is he growing in knowledge and wisdom as he gets older, or just getting more critical and cynical? What are his fears, his joys, his desires, his hopes for the future, his regrets from the past? What historic scars are holding him back? Why does he continually feel like he's going around the same old track all the time, getting the same results regardless of what he does? I was only sitting there for a few minutes, and I felt exhausted already. I knew, somewhere deep inside me, that these questions had been hanging around me for a long time. I just hadn't had the internal fortitude to face them, until now. If I want to be free, I've got to know me. I pondered that well-known adage, love your neighbor as yourself. However, I wasn't sure if I even liked myself. I had done stuff to me, gotten myself into situations, that if someone else had done that to me, I would never have spoken to them again, let alone love them. And what about forgiveness? Could I forgive myself? Had I the courage to give myself a fresh start? Had I the strength to face the real me, sort out my divided energies, my indecisions, my weaknesses, my depleted confidence, and join forces again with this stranger in the mirror before me, to get up and succeed at this thing called life? Ha ha, what does that even mean? Suddenly, I felt like I was in a deep hole, looking a long way up to where I thought I would be at my age. My dreams had been shattered a long time ago. I felt that I had been holding an empty box where my hopes and dreams were once kept. Who was to blame for that? Was it this guy in the mirror? How could I ever trust him to get me out of this hole, since it was clearly him that got me into it? Silently, I was forced to ask myself, what are the alternatives? I can just give up and this hole will become my tomb, or I can give us one last shot at winning. I spoke out loud to that face in the mirror before me. If we're not going to do this together, then it's not going to get done. So let's forgive each other, buckle up, and start climbing. I don't think there can be any other journey as scary as the journey of self-discovery, mainly because I was afraid I really might not like what I was about to find. But I knew, deep down, that if I want to be free, I've got to know me. And the only way to do that was to start being truthful with myself. Quote, cherish your visions, cherish your ideals, cherish the music that stirs in your heart, the beauty that forms in your mind, the loveliness that drapes your purest thoughts. For out of them will grow all delightful conditions, all heavenly environment. Of these, if you but remain true to them, your world will at last be built. Men do not attract what they want, they attract what they are. I decided to start by trying to answer some of the questions I had asked myself as I looked in the mirror. I started with forgiveness. Do I forgive myself? Psychologists generally define forgiveness as a conscious, deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment or vengeance toward yourself, a person or group who have harmed you, regardless of whether they actually deserve your forgiveness. If I felt I needed forgiveness, then I must have sinned against myself or someone else. So first I had to establish a definition for that word. What is a sin? In Greek, the word for sin is hamartia, which is an archery term for missing the target. It is also a religious word. Over 90% of the population of the world claim to be involved with or have some religious beliefs. While they have vastly different views on many aspects of faith, they all generally agree that a sin is an immoral act considered to be a transgression against a divine law. However, are we punished for our sin, or do we punish ourselves? Could it be that we are not punished for our sins, but rather punished by our sins? If we believe we have crossed a divine or moral line in our acts or behaviors, then we look for forgiveness from the source of whom we have wronged. I read that when we are forgiven, it is like our sin has been removed from us as far as the east is from the west. I thought long and hard about this. If you travel east and keep going, you can never get to west. Is there anywhere on earth where east meets west? Yes. The one and only place in the whole of the earth where east meets west is right inside us. Wherever we are, we have a choice to go east or west. It's entirely our choice. We are right where they meet, no matter where we are. If we go one way, we go east. If we go the other way, we go west. So, what does that mean? It seems that when we ask for it, we are divinely forgiven for our mistakes. However, for that to take root inside us, we must also forgive ourselves. That is the only way to apprehend true forgiveness and start fresh. But I noticed that many people who believe that they have been forgiven still carry the burden of their mistakes and failures. Let them go. Toss them to the east and step out of your own way. Let them go where they have been sent. Forgive yourself. As a baby, I didn't know who I was. Nothing unusual about that. All babies start there. I looked to understand myself, based on the input of the people around me. My mom, dad, brothers, and sister. If they liked me and smiled at me, then I must be a nice person. When they frowned or scowled at me, then I must be a bad person. How else could I make any judgments on who I was? When did I stop taking my opinion of me from other people? Have I stopped at all? Am I simply the sum total of the opinions and reactions of all the people I have ever met? Do I continually compare myself to others? Is that why sometimes I'm happy, then sad, then laughing, then angry, then confident, then depressed? But what about the real me? Where is he? Does he have any opinions of his own? Is all his reasoning of the people and the world around him really based on other people's opinions? What do I actually believe? What time have I ever spent weighing up the world around me, thinking, pondering, examining, testing my opinions against those of others? Not just accepting what others say, without giving it my own consideration based on knowledge and understanding. What effect has my thinking had on my life? Have my thoughts really landed me into the circumstances I find myself in? Circumstance do not make the man, they only reveal him to himself. If so, then that's good news. Because if I created my circumstances by my thinking up to now, then I can change my circumstances by changing my thinking. True? Do you know that you think 60 to 70,000 thoughts every day, and over 90% of them are the same as you thought yesterday? The first part of the quote says, "As a man thinks in his heart." So, if you believe that somehow your thoughts are connected to your life, then the same thoughts always lead to the same choices. The same choices always lead to the same behaviors. The same behaviors create the same experiences. The same experiences produce the same emotions, and the same emotions drive the same thoughts. Your biology, chemistry, and physiology are equal to how you think, act, and feel. Yes, you think in your brain, but your senses, emotions, and how you relate or react to those emotions, most of which are subconscious and automatic, decide your actions. Your actions then bring consequences for good or bad into your life. The second part of the quote says, "So is he." How you think, act, and feel is your personality, and it's your personality that creates your personal reality. What do I think in my heart? The subconscious part of me, my self-image, runs a ruler over my every thought and action. I decided to examine my beliefs, those foundational autoresponder thoughts and opinions I have been living off. Where did they come from, and should I have declared, at least some of them, obsolete years ago? What about my teachers in school? What opinions of me did they embed into my soul? Do I still base my beliefs on my abilities to learn, on their opinion of me as an 8 or 10-year-old boy? What effect did that opinion have on me as I carried on with my education? Did I leave school as a young man with wisdom and understanding on how to build a life for myself, or with the opinion that I should just follow the crowd, get the best job that I could, one with a pension if possible, keep my head down and try to reach death safely? So, I asked myself, how do I rate my ability to make good decisions? I started to write down anything I could think of that I considered were good decisions I had made in my life. I had to do this over a few days, keeping a small notepad and pen with me as I went about my daily business. It's funny how we are wired to remember with ease the bad decisions we've made and struggle to remember the good ones. I included everything I could think of, even if I thought they were minor. I listed also the blessings in my life, my natural talents, my family and friends, my job or business. Even if I felt I would rather have a different one, it's a blessing to be able to work at all. They all add up, and I found more than I expected at first. When I made my list, I employed an attitude of gratitude. I looked over my list and was thankful. I then decided to make a list of what my life would look like in my ideal world. If you don't have a dream, how can you have a dream come true? I asked myself, do I allow myself to dream of a different life? Do I have a burning desire for anything? Have I buried it so deep that I can't remember it? Am I afraid to go after it because if I don't make it, I might look foolish? Do I deserve it? Am I worthy of it? How would I feel if all my debts were paid? What would I love to spend my days doing? What do I want to achieve before I kick the bucket? How many children would I love to have? Where would I love to live? What would I love to drive? What places in the world would I love to visit? What would I love to do for the community I live in? What would I do if time and money were not a barrier? Again, I decided to make as comprehensive a list as I dared to, and that took a few days too. I didn't try to work out how I was going to achieve anything on my list at that point. That would come later. I just needed to get an overall picture of my position. I started thinking about my journey through my life since I left school. I believe I approached life like lots of other people. We try to build a successful life without knowing the rules that govern everything around us. We set goals and dreams, but they don't work out. We seem to go around the same old mountain time after time, facing the same challenges and never getting ahead. We allow ourselves to get distracted by things that might offer us some patchwork solutions to our daily needs and wants, but are they helping us reach our goals and dreams? Perhaps we don't want to ponder too long about what we really want in life because we feel we can't achieve it or don't deserve it, and that's not a nice feeling. We don't always get to write the story of our lives as we would want it written. Stuff happens. Good stuff and not so good stuff. Stuff beyond our control, good decision stuff and bad decision stuff. But ultimately, it's all our stuff, and how we assess it and react to it will determine our ability to grow. Here's the great news. No matter what the stuff is or has been, we get to write our own headlines, and those headlines set the tone of the story that is to follow. We can only join the dots of our passage through life looking back. Going forward is an adventure that starts new every day, and we can use what we've learned from the journey so far, that knowledge and experience, with great effect if we don't take the emotion and the feelings of failure with it. Your brain is a record of the past, a history of all the things you've learned and experienced to this moment. So, if you do the same things every day, the same routine, with the same people, experience the same emotions, doing what you've memorized to do so well, can you expect a different outcome, even if you secretly desire one? Your subconscious brain is just like a computer program running on automatic. It gives the same thoughts over and over, which produces the same actions, reactions, and emotions in you. You cannot change those subconscious programs when you are inside them. You need to break away by first being conscious of them. Then, when you are on the outside, you can examine and adjust them. Think of it this way. Your subconscious mind is a record and playback machine. That's it. It doesn't decide what it records, and it has no choice what it plays when the button is pushed. Let's say you have a recording of a song, and you play it often, then after a while you get fed up with it, and you get frustrated that it plays every time you push the play button. So you start shouting at the recorder, "Play a different song, please," but it can't. That's the only one it's got recorded. We all have many apps on our phones and computers. A simple click, and the app gives you the program you are looking for. If you want to open a Maps app but click on the Music app instead, you won't get Maps, and no matter how often you click it, you'll always get only what that app is made to deliver to you. So, you get a self-help book, and you go to a few personal development seminars. And they are great. I've been to many, and have spoken at quite a few, but I struggled to figure out why they didn't have the lasting effects I was looking for. I realized that if I wanted a different song, I was going to have to change the recording, but I didn't know how to do that. If I wanted to change the design of my life, I needed to get right inside the recorder and change what was in it. I needed to record the right stuff so that when I pressed play, it delivered the story I wanted, the one that was uplifting and life-giving, the one that kept me on the right course for the life I desired. There are many people living with challenging life circumstances, from broken homes, drug and drink cultures, poor education, bad financial management, and low self-image. And there are many good groups of people and charities successfully working with those people who want to change their circumstances. However, what about the very many people who look to the outside world as having their lives together? They have a job, a home, a family, and a reasonable standard of living, but they are living lives with no real purpose, lives of quiet desperation. They don't look for help because they feel they shouldn't need any. They feel they should be grateful for what they have, and so they should. But that feeling can also develop into a life of no hope, a life that is totally unfulfilling. For some, there can be times when they cry, "There must be more to life than this." When that happens, it can eat deep down into our soul and cause us to question our very existence and the purpose of life itself. There is more to life than mere survival, and discovering it will be the most exciting journey you will ever take. This book is about that journey, a journey of self-discovery, a journey to find our individual place in a world that is often critical and unforgiving. Each one of us is unique and has a unique reason for being here at this time. Discovering that is the path to freedom and fulfillment. The aim of this book is to show you that this is true, why it is true, and how you can find that it is true, specifically for you. With a combination of psychology, biology, science, and natural laws, I have gathered together known facts and discoveries which will open up avenues of thought and understanding that have the potential to change the course of any life, no matter where the starting point is. I lay out the proposition that, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he, in a way that I believe will resonate with you and show that many of these truths are already self-evident in our lives. Our life is a story that we continually play in our heads, but often we see ourselves under the control of other people or circumstances, and only playing a bit part in our own story. We can and should change that. Promote yourself to be the star of your own show. Quote, "The first part of any escape story is to realize that you are bound." Has something ever happened to you that made you say, "I just don't feel like myself today"? Perhaps it was a tragedy, a sudden shock or revelation. Maybe something happened that made you question your relationship with someone close to you. Many things can suddenly come upon us that cause us to question long-held beliefs, and that can give us a feeling of being outside ourselves, almost like we've got a new insight into our lives. And when it happens, it is not always a pleasant feeling. It can be a bit like being lost, even questioning our ability to think straight. But that's exactly where you need to get to in order to examine the subconscious stories that are running your life. Wouldn't it be better to deliberately seek out that place where you can correct the long-held beliefs that have produced the possibly unsatisfactory life you are living? Rather than waiting for a tragic event to place you there, it starts with a decision and then a process. It's a process that takes a focused, determined effort, coupled with knowledge and understanding, to successfully achieve results, and we'll go through that process over the coming chapters. Welcome aboard.